Next on the agenda... We're way behind schedule.
Hello, everybody. Oh God, I remove stream.
You are muted.
No, I wasn't. Now I am.
Oh,
What's up, O's?
what's up? Not much is up.
Next on the agenda...
So I was browsing random videos on my YouTube page the other day, and I had this video pop up of Baldy, Asmund, watching Tectone go apeshit, going for a Sally upon Isaris.
Happy to apply! Illusion shattered!
I decided to search up
Wind strike!
See, we're off to a great start. But as I do the expect things like how much money you spend on gachas, or how gachas make money
Into the wind!
stuff like last conflict hits gaming about
There is no escape! Access denied!
Where do you think you're going?
No touching!
The closest video I saw that shows any amount of these topics is Professor Orlando's video called The Endless Cycle of Gacha Games, in which he actually goes into the basic psychology of why people play gacha to begin with, or specifically, why players go. In the end, it too focuses simply on the gacha games. All this to say, I'm damned. I don't have a fucking clue what the actual gacha actually is.
Time to go. Let's begin.
So, dudes, my name is Aiden Psycho, aka Snapper98, but you can just call me Dude. And no, the 10 gacha game screen setup you saw earlier isn't just a program. I actually have all of the games running at the same time, as you can see. I've been playing gacha games for the past six and a half years, ever since mid-2017 when I first started with MGO. Yeah, and I picked up more and more as the years went by. And while the whole gacha addiction thing has always been a thing, even back when I started, it's really blown up in a big way, thanks to, you guessed it, Genshin Impact, when it came out back in 2021. Because if people can pick up Genshin as their very first gacha game and instantly say that they got you're morbidly curious to know how far down this rabbit hole goes, join me as I drag you all down with me into the pit of gacha hell, for the length of this video at least, and give you a glimpse into the absolute negative of what it means to be a true gacha.
Weather all around.
How exactly I'm going to do that goes like this. I'm going to give you a hopeful Quick background of
Time to go.
my gacha games, what I've done in them, and a rough estimate of how much I spent in each of them. And they're going to be very rough estimates because I don't have a good idea of how much exactly, and honestly, personally, I'd rather not know. Starting off with Fate Grand Order, for anyone who's familiar with the Fate series, this is their official mobile game. It's developed by Mozangle, a Japanese studio formerly known as the Lightworks, and published by Aniplex. Its original server in Japan came out on July 30th, 2015, with the Chinese, Taiwanese, Korean, and North American servers coming out over the next 2 years. The NA server, which I play, launched on June 25th, 2017. FGO is a single-player turn-based RPG which controls multiple servants of the player, while a game like Star Rail can be considered a more traditional turn-based game. FGO is quite different as it has a plethora of unique mechanics such as card decks, card types, and card chains, just to name a few. Mastery of these mechanics and the systems they create is essential to your overall experience in the game. The only problem is that the game itself doesn't teach you almost any of its own mechanics. So, guess what? You get to figure that shit out all on your own for the true old-school JRPG experience. No wonder this game is 8 years old on the Japanese.
Follow the... Yeah.
Anyway, I started playing technically on day 3, but I did spend that first day re-rolling to start with an SSR, who turned out to be safe. And, don't let the English localization fool you. Her name is Artoriu, not Altriu, because, Kinofunasu can go fuck himself. I started playing for real on day 4 and haven't stopped since, unfortunately for me. In that time, I've rolled for every single servant in the game, and not just for one copy. Many of you know that gacha games incentivize going for multiple copies of gacha characters, and FGO's concept, where the normal max number of dupes is 5. Almost every servant on my account is maxed out, and I don't just mean their HP level, which is how many dupes I've gotten for them. I've made it a point to go for every servant, max level, max skill level, max bond level, and max MP. Mind you, this game has a 1% SSR or 5-star drop rate with a 0.8% rate of chance. And for the first 5.5 years or so, FGO actually did not have any pity system whatsoever. They finally added one somewhat recently, but it's the worst pity system I've ever seen at 30 multi-rolls, and only activates once per banner, meaning that once you pull the rate of 5-star, your pity, at least on that specific banner, is gone. And yes, that applies
Thank you for completing
before 30 multis. And the pity doesn't even carry over between banners. Holy shit, dude. All in all, this game's probably cost me anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000, though I wouldn't be surprised if it's more like $40,000. But not all that money went into just the gacha. Remember that a lot of gacha games have stamina
Genesis crystal.
or farm materials. When you have stamina and when you run out, you gotta wait until your account recovers some more. But a lot of gachas let you restore stamina if you use premium currency, and that's exactly what I did for FGO, because this game, my god, is the grindiest gacha I've played. It's not a stretch to say that I've burned more Saint Quartz, their premium currency for this game, on just farming than a lot of people have spent on the gacha itself. Keep this in mind for any other gacha in this video that I go over that also has a stamina system. My second gacha is Girls Frontline 1. You may have heard of Girl Cloud, which is a prequel, and it's a roguelike auto chess game, I think, or you might have heard of Girls Frontline 2, which is currently in development. This is the first game developed by a Chinese studio called Nicotine and published by Dark Winter Software or Sunborn Technology for the Chinese, English, and Japanese servers. And I'm a day 1 player on the English server, which launched on May 8th, 2020. Girls Frontline is a weird hybrid of both turn-based and real-time combat gameplay. You deploy echelons of android anime girls with guns called tactical dolls, or T-dolls. Essentially, this was Niken before Niken. You start out on turn-based gameplay where you have action points that determine how many moves you can make on your turn before enemies take their own. when you have a squad occupy the same tile as an enemy, the game transitions to real-time combat, where your T-Dolls operate on a numpad-style 3x3 tile set to attack enemies. T-Dolls are literally named after the guns they use, and as such, they're categorized based on what their gun type is. Assault rifles are the standard DPS class, submachine guns and shotguns are both tanks, with SMGs being evasion tanks who negate incoming damage by dodging them, and shotguns mitigating damage, usually down to 1. MGs are the sustained damage class, snipers are the burst damage class, and handguns are the support class. While FGO takes the cake for the most amount of grind out of any of my gachas, Girls Frontline is a close second, but unlike FGO, most of the grind in this game is actually required because of its endgame content like later story chapters, major event hard modes, and event rank events. You have your core units, the T-Dolls, who need to be leveled. Some of them also have these things called neural upgrades that require even more investment, and gear that they can equip that also needs to be obtained from gacha and level. You also have combat fairies, HOCs, and coalition units that all have their own separate acquisition and enhancement pipelines, which is a fancy way of saying they all have their own gachas. The main gacha mechanic in Girls Frontline is something called a construction gacha, where you can get most of your core units. Most gachas are pretty simple. You just use a premium currency to roll the gacha, and that's pretty much it. But the construction gacha works a little differently for the game you have. You input recipes that take 4 separate resource types, and the gacha gives you something to break with. The other gachas that you use to get the other units, like combat fairies, HOCs, and coalition units, are also technically free to play, so you can grind your ass off to be able to afford everything. So it's technically possible for even free-to-play players to theoretically acquire almost every character or unit in the game. The reason why I say theoretically, though, is because heavy construction is where that dream goes to die. Because fuck heavy construction, all my homies hate heavy construction. Even still, I've managed to get almost every unit in the game, with a lot of them heavily invested, because in this game, unlike many others, meta is not a suggestion. Genshin players see a be like, oh my god, are they would you run private national on every single of this? Jesus Christ, yeah, no fucking clue what
wonderful.
that is.
Surely enough to convince